Hello, friends. There are many beautiful places in the world, and also places that are very isolated and where people can hide away from unwanted guests and irritating riots, if they want, even from the whole world. But some of these places are special. You can look at them and not understand how and why someone came up with them. Such a place is Clingstone, a house on a tiny island in the Atlantic built by an American in the beginning of the 20th century. When you look at this house, you understand the idea of, my house is my castle. But as it turns out, it did not coincidentally get there. It had a certain reason. And this is exactly what I want to tell you about today. The house on the rock has a rich history and a dramatic beginning. However, if the early problems and difficulties wouldn't have arisen, the house would not be standing there today. The dramatic story starts in 1905 in the city of Georgetown. At that time, Joseph Wharton was an important landowner outside of town. He also had a big house on that land. He was proud of his possessions and dreamt about all of the following generations of the Wharton family living in this house, and when he would get old, he would gather the whole family with all the grandchildren and great-grandchildren at the big wooden table. Unfortunately, his dreams never came true. One day, Joseph got a letter from the city management. It said that in order for the town to expand, that they would need new lands and would have to take away Wharton's estate together with his house. Of course, the man started to fight for his possessions and rights, but the town won the lawsuit in the end. And so it came that the house and all of his estates were taken away by the town. Suddenly, he was left without anything he acquired in all the years. This event split the life of Wharton's family into two: before and after. People say Joseph didn't support the corrupt views of Georgetown officials and wanted to know that. But the officials didn't stop there and decided to further humiliate the man. They sent him a compensation that only further humiliated the proud American. It was a small estate far outside of town, which was not optimal for building a house there. One could ask, how could this happen in the democratic United States? But in the early 20th century, it was very different. Joseph Wharton went to many institutions to change the situation, but it was all useless. In the end, the whole family left their beloved house. After such a humiliation, Joseph swore that no one could ever again dismiss his family out of their new house. He was so upset that he decided to build their new home far away from civilization. He decided to build a house that would last many generations to come and which no one could take away. Then he had the idea of buying a little island near Rhode Island in the Narragansett Bay that no one needed. The place was perfect for his idea, but problematic. It was a naked rock in the middle of the ocean, and the thin pedestrian overpass was the only path onto the island. But did you think that would stop Mr. Wharton? On the contrary. This challenge only ignited his willpower. And so the story of the unique house on the rock began. What's the most interesting is that this island that was useless and no one wanted was sold to him for $200. The local officials just smiled at the crazy person, but Joseph Wharton was not afraid of taking on challenges. They rather motivated him. In 1906, he began his constructions. All the building materials were transported onto the island with boats. The whole family worked hard on the construction of the new home, and soon, with combined forces, a 3-story house was built. The construction was very impressive. The house had 23 rooms, of which 10 rooms were bedrooms. The facility had balconies and patios where the whole family would enjoy the beautiful sunsets. The house owner even incorporated all at that time available forms of communication to ensure a comfortable life for his family. Joseph Wharton did not just build a house on a rock. He would never again give away something in his life and therefore call his home Clingstone House. This term is well known in botanics and describes a pit that is really hard to separate from the fruit itself. This way he underlined his position once more. Wharton's dream came true, and his family lived a long and happy life on the windy island in the Atlantic Ocean. In 1938, the pedestrian overpass was destroyed by hurricane winds and was even more isolated since then. Now, the only way to get to the island was by boat or by swimming through a short but very cold strait. Over the years, multiple generations lived in this house, and as Wharton wanted, for every celebration, they all gathered on the big wooden deck. Around Clingstone, modern life went on. Whole neighborhoods were built and demolished, but the house stood still as the rock it was built on and watched the scenarios. Over more than 100 years, the owners of the house changed, but whoever lived there was in love with this house. Henry Wood's family was the last one to purchase the house. They've lived there since 1961. Henry made massive renovations without changing the original look of the building. Everything was restored. The builders did everything possible and impossible to keep the special atmosphere of the Anchoret mansion while managed to create an extremely comfortable place. The building was updated with solar panels and a wind turbine so domestic devices, as well as the devices for collecting and clearing water, could work independently. They also added a system that decomposes natural waste, filters it, and then is released into the depths of the ocean as fertilizer. This makes the house completely independent from the rest of the world, just like the owner wanted it to be. Henry Wood purchased the property for $3,600, which is extremely cheap. The reconstruction, however, cost him a fortune. But Henry does not regret anything. He is happy to own a house with such a special story. After the renovation, the house that was a bit gloomy and moist became warm and cozy. Henry Wood and his 3 sons, who are still the owners of the house, are very proud of it. When they are in the house, sitting at the dining table or just relaxing on the couch, they always feel like they are in a wardroom due to the big windows and the view from these windows. This is how the house built by Joseph Wharton as a protest became the pride of the whole city. Nowadays, many tourists swim by the house and take photos of it. Some even try to go on the island to have a better look at the house and feel the history. And the owners are even eager to give them a tour. This is the story of a unique house. Over 100 years ago, Joseph Wharton would have never thought that this house would become a legend in our times. And after all, he managed to prove to the officials and to the whole world that his house is indeed a castle. Friends, would you like to live in such an isolated house? Tell me your opinion in the comments, and I'll see you soon.